So my name is Nicholas Richards. I am the president of the Abyssinian Fund and its co-founder. I'm also the assistant minister of global outreach at the Abyssinian Baptist Church here in Harlem. The way that I got involved with the Abyssinian Fund is I started the Abyssinian Fund out of my own passion for development and sustainable development in Africa. Um, Along with my belief that the African American church can play a significant role in that. So when I got to Abyssinian Church, I just thought it was the best marriage of what my passion was and just the reality of being an Abyssinian and the history that Abyssinian had and the potential it had to do the type of work that I really felt that the black church can really become involved in. And so I had begun writing the business plan for Aby Fund when I was in grad school, even prior to Abyssinian. And so, I didn't really know what it was going to be, but I knew it was going to be an organization that was housed or birthed out of a black church focused on doing development work in Africa. Ethiopia was the first and only choice for many reasons. I serve at Abyssinian Church, and it started 203 years ago now by Ethiopian sea merchants and African Americans in downtown New York. And so, in thinking about what we would do, it was obvious that Ethiopia was going to be one of the choices of where we would work. And kind of another really like hot button issue that prompted Ethiopia to kind of lead the way in terms of what where we worked was that when I got to Abyssinian, it was right around the time the church was going to Ethiopia in 2007. And so it just made sense from so many different angles, that when I thought about what we would do, it really just made sense that Ethiopia would be the place. What's interesting is that the community that we are working in, Chafa Janeta, in southeastern Ethiopia, is made up of primarily Muslims. And so it's a Christian kind of founded organization that's working with Muslims in Ethiopia. Um, the truth of the matter is that we all believe in one God, and God expresses God's self in many ways. I identify with that through Jesus Christ, and others identify with that through the Prophet Muhammad. Um, there is no contradiction in that to me, and I don't feel the need to go and try to convince someone else that my belief is better than theirs. You know, um, and Ethiopia is an extremely spiritual nation. It is the bedrock of almost all Abrahamic faiths. So we believe that we can learn so much more about our own understanding and appreciation of faith than we can even ever try to tell someone else. And that's really where the starting point of our conversation always is. How can we work together? Because we feel that it's a part of our expression of love to do this work. It does not require that we go out and proselytize and try to coerce someone else, but that love should speak for itself. I think that whenever you think about African Americans who've been involved in the continent, you have to go to Leon Sullivan. You know, um, and not simply was he a minister and a community activist, but he did tremendous work on the continent. Other names that come to mind are Ralph Bunche, the former diplomat and statesman who was greatly involved in peace accords. Um, and so we do have a history of this. In our recent history, we have Andrew Young, the former UN ambassador. Uh, Even presently, we have the current the current ambassador to the AAU, Reverend Michael Battle, who's an African American, and he's based in Addis as well. So there are numerous figures, who've been involved in development on the continent. Now, what the challenge has been is that we've limited it to certain individuals. What is really, I think, distinct about Abyssinian Fund is that it's not about a particular personality. It rather is a group, it is a community that's partnering with another community in Africa. I mean, that's the kind of radical feature of it. It's really important that we at Abyssinian take a very lead-in role in showing that we are interested in development work, that we are interested in partnering and in building up communities where the concerns that they have are, quite frankly, very similar to concerns that many people here have, right? But we have the resources and we have the skills to do both. Climate change is hugely important to all of us, I think, who are concerned about the future of our world. So when we are training farmers on new techniques in harvesting or intercropping or whatever the kind of the skill is, we take into consideration, how do we preserve the land in the most efficient way for the future benefit of those who will come behind. So we hire agronomists who are not only going to help farmers make the most immediate return and the kind of fastest growing yields, but we definitely take into consideration, how do we do something that is much more sustainable? That's the word sustainable is not only an economic kind of phrase that we drop in to attract donors, but it's something that we think about in all layers of the work that we do. That if we build something, we want to make sure that we're not destroying the environment around us. And so I do think that the issues of climate change are different in New York as opposed to rural Ethiopia. But we definitely do take into consideration, what are the long-term effects of the work that we're doing on the environment. I think there are challenges to the kind of overproduction of land. I think that we've seen that. And I'm sure there are, several health practitioners who would say that the way our own consumption of food that's heavily fertilized and mass produced is not the healthiest, So I'm not sure that we want to kind of package our agricultural techniques and just kind of and just we definitely and just consider and just and just the long and just the word and just and just their challenge into the into kind of into for into we've seen into and there are several practitioners who say that own consumption food that's fertilized, masses not the health, masses so I'm masses that we masses package masses cultural masses definitely we definitely don't consider the word for the long term the word is not kind of and I'm kind of definitely take their challenge to the phrase that bid for donors but I think about it we've seen the work that so well the great thing about most of Africa is that it's all organic. You don't really have to worry about that too much. So the farmers that we're working with in Champagne, they are organic certified, and so non-organic would be an anomaly, you know. That's really a feature of Western civilization. So we have a 10-year plan for how we would like to kind of scale up Aby Fund. However, our scaling up is different, I would say, from most organizations, not just NGOs or nonprofits, that we do not see Aby Fund as a solution for poverty in Ethiopia. No organization can be. One of the challenges I think to scaling up is that it often is infused with this kind of egotism, you know, that one voice should crowd out all the rest, instead of finding ways to develop the chorus of voices in development, that quite frankly, Aby Fund cannot work all over Ethiopia. Our approach, the scrutiny that we apply to farmers and in the selection process, it just would eliminate us to some degree from being applicable to every farmer community in Ethiopia. That we ideally want to work with groups who are kind of on the cusp of development. And we want to really kind of infuse resources in those communities, quote unquote. But that's one approach. And we kind of feel very strongly about that approach. But there are other models that are, quite frankly, very good as well, right? And so it's not just a better or worse, valuation that we should put on organizations who are doing good work. We would like to expand to different regions in Ethiopia. We would like to work with other communities outside of the coffee market. But we would like to stay in Ethiopia. Right? We don't want our celebrity or the perception that we hope to drive and the successes that we hope to accumulate to cloud our judgment, in thinking that this can be formed into this cookie cutter approach to development. That it's taken us a year to research one community. Now, when we have more resources, it may not take a year to make this type of decisions, I'm certain. However, there is something to say about really just focusing in, right, and staying in certain communities for the long haul. It's ridiculous to think that you can transform a community that has been impacted by poverty for the last 200 years and be removed from it after 7 to 10 years. You can become a supporter of the Abyssinian Fund. That's the first way to get involved. But seriously, I met with someone the other day, and she said that the great thing about Africa is that everyone can be an Oprah in Africa, right? That if you find something that you are interested in, passionate about, any bit of support that you give towards that cause goes a tremendous way, right? So our goal this year is to raise and spend $300,000, right? That is not a lot of money at all. But we are going to begin to transform the lives of 4,000 people with $300,000, right? Just this year. Now, next year that goes to about 600, and the year after that, 1 million. So we have those projections, but these are not large figures for anyone, right? And it requires, and one of the things that we want to do is for not just black people, not just Abyssinians, but for people to know that a small amount of support, right, can transform the lives of real people, not just like starving babies that you see on TV every now and then, but real kids who are going to school, who want to be doctors, who want to be lawyers, who want to be farmers. Like, your small support can go a tremendous way, right? And you will have a connection to actual communities. That's why we don't want to get too big, right? Because we want everyone who is a partner with us to know and see where exactly their work is going, right? That it's not just a transforming Ethiopia, but no, you are seeing Chapa Janetta and the citizens of Chapa Janetta and the school in Chapa Janetta that you've built and you've constructed and the clean water that they now have. I mean, that is a tremendous feeling to know that a couple dollars here transforms a life and a family, right, in an area that you probably have never seen before. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you so much.